Hey besties, how are we doing today? We doing good? Great? Fantastic. It is my favorite time of year. You could not tell by all the pink in my room, but it is spooky season, besties. And the best way to celebrate that is I am going to do a mega ranking of my favorite horror series, which is Scream. So I'm going to make this very clear from the get-go, besties. This is my personal opinion. Is this a definite ranking? Nuh-uh. If you want a definite ranking, go to dude who does Who Killed Who. He is great. I like his content. But this is me. This is me. Get a vibe with me. If you're going to be mad because I have an opinion, then you might as well just click off. Thank you for stopping by. Because I have controversial opinions. Slay. Okay. So we're going to do this in either 3 videos, probably 1 video, but 3 sections of it. We're going to rate the movies. We're going to rate the opening scenes, and then we're going to rate all the ghost faces. Why? Well, it's like, what makes a good Scream movie? I don't want to just rank the movies. That's like mid, right? Important parts about the movies, the opening scenes, the ghost faces. I was also gonna like rank the rules and like maybe like the, but nah, maybe in a separate video, but not this one. I have my official rankings down, and I tried to make a pro and con list for every single one, but I didn't end up finishing that for all of them because that's a lot of effort, and I just like speaking, and this is for the heck of it. Important moment. So, if you do not know already, the people of Palestine are being brutally, and I would appreciate if you could take the time out of your day to go to the link below. It should be the first link in the description, and it's going to show you how to call your representatives. And when you can call your representatives, it gives you a little script. Take less than 5 minutes out of the time today. We're all going to sit here and goof about people who are being, so let's take a moment out of our day to understand how lucky and privileged we are, and to help people who in real life are being, not in a silly way. It's very serious. Thank you so much. We shall continue. Okay, so we're going to start with the movies. Okay, if you don't know, there's 6 movies, right? If you haven't seen all of them, I don't know if this is a hot take or not. There is no bad Scream movie, bestie. I have watched all of these so many times. Okay? They're all good. Are some of them better than others? Yes. But they're all a good time. And if you haven't watched all of them, I would honestly recommend watching the whole series. The 4th one is the hardest one to get a hold of from my experience. But they're honestly a good time. Okay? And once again, this is my opinion. My opinion. This is not a definite ranking. This order would be different. First and best one is obviously the first and best one. Scream 1996. I know. It's the best one. If they somehow manage to beat it one day, I will be shocked. That is literally a perfect movie. From how clever the whodunit is, to even like the set detailing and like little hints and stuff they like did in the movie, the acting, it's gold standard. Iconic quotes. The reason there's a Scream series is because that movie is so fantastic that it creates a solid formula that can continue on through all of the movies. I'm trying to think of pros and cons of every single one to be objective. Only con I could think of, and before you say anything, it makes sense for the character and the context, but it's weird that Gail records all the kids at the party, and it's weird that Gail and Dewey hang out at the high schoolers party. Does it make sense for the context and the characters? Yes. I'm just trying to be objective, bestie. Okay. Next. Scream 6. I know. I'm sorry. Is it the next best movie? I don't know. I don't think so. But it is my personal second favorite. I love this movie and pros of it. The reason why I think this is my second favorite, is because the action sequences in this movie are so good. okay? From the scene with the ghost face, I think it's called the bodega for some reason, but like I think of it as like kind of like the grocery store with that scene is crazy. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me and say the scene wasn't crazy. I remember seeing the ad for it on YouTube before I even saw the movie, and I was like, yes, fantastic. The rooftop ladder scene, oh my god. You were on the edge of the seat, I was on the edge of my seat. Even rewatching it, I'm like... And then I'm gonna try to keep out a lot of the ghost face and opening sequence stuff because we're going into that later. But like, not necessarily like who the ghost faces are, but like that ghost face reveal action sequence. Oh my god. Oh my god, it was so hype and so sick. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. It was a great time. I was just like, I actually took to see it in theaters with my two friends, and I felt so bad. They've never screened a Scream movie before, and that was the one where they basically say every single spoiler for the next movie. They both fell in love with it too, and now I've watched all the Scream movies. One of them was actually who gave me these Scream earrings. But I was just like, I'm so sorry, I just ruined this whole franchise for you. But no, they still enjoyed the other movies. It just was funny. But they loved it too. They liked it so much they finished the whole series. And another really thing I really like about this movie too is like the core four, right? Those main four have such a great dynamic they're building up, rather between the two sisters, the twins, and just how they all interact with each other. I love it, and it's that found family. It's that found family that gets me, and it gets me, right? But it makes me very nervous for the next one, because I do not think that the core four will last much longer. Cons. Obviously, no Sidney Prescott. And it's because, screw the makers, they were not paying her fairly. So no. I don't wish she would have sucked it up or whatever. No, she had every right to be like, screw you, dudes. But it sucks. And as much as I love this movie, this will always be a big slash against it because it's so sad that icon of the series was pushed aside because they decided not to treat her fairly. And I have some other cons too about this movie. Because of the bond, the core four was so strong, I feel like they really kind of underutilized the other love interest in the movie. I think the Mindy's girlfriends was Annika. Annika. It was Annika. See, I had to look it up. It's sad. I basically remember every single characters in it, but I had to look at that one. Sam's like boyfriend next door. I think he gets a little bit more than Anika, and just because she's just kill. I mean, she has an awesome kill, but like that's not the same, right? But it makes sense because they're really building that core four. But I really wish I could see more of Annika, because I thought her and Mindy's relationship was super cute, and I love seeing lesbians on screen. If you couldn't tell what I am, you're one of those. Yes. And I feel like they were just underutilized in the film. And then a complaint I hear about this movie a lot that I'm mentioning is that there was not enough killing in this movie. Yes, but okay. I still feel like the movie was action-packed enough, hence all those action-packed scenes that I mentioned why this movie is like my second favorite. However, I understand the criticism because you typically come to like slasher movies to see slashing, right? We were not given slasher, and there was no, besides like the girlfriend and some like the therapist or whatever, there was basically no kills in the movie. And for me, that's fine. I mean, as long as it's still like action-packed and exciting. But I understand, like, the franchise is a slasher franchise, so why aren't you giving slasher? Scream 6, also, they underutilized Gale. Next. 3. The girlies are gonna be mad with this. Well, not the girlies. The girls are gonna get mad at this. Scream 3. You have horrible taste. I know. I told you. It's my opinion. Okay. Is this arguably the clumsiest written? We'll get to that. Movie. Yes. But it's my opinion. This movie is so camp and goofy. I love it. It is just so much fun as a movie for me that I just love it. It's just a great time. And I watched actually someone react it today, and it's really the girls who get it, and the girls who don't. Like, people, I watched them and they thought, like, the fake Gale was, like, corny. And if you're the girls who don't get it, that makes sense. Me, it's a goofy good time. You will see throughout the list, I'm here for the goofs and the gaffs. I'm here for the camp, the weird, the strange. I love that. I would rather it be a silly good time than like that's just who I am. And that's just what I like. It's my personal opinion, right? And because it's so high on the list and everyone hates this movie, I have written down probably more pros than I needed to, because I feel like there's a lot of great things about this movie. And we'll get to the cons, don't worry, but I want to mention those too. But ahead of its time, it acknowledged how evil Hollywood producers are with the whole Maureen Prescott arc in that movie. With the producer, I think it's Milton, right? Disgusting. Trash. We love that. Iconic, right? The Sydney character, this is one of my favorite Sydney character arcs in a movie, right? The whole, like, ghost mom thing was a little weird, because, like, the voice thing was weird. However, I really thought her trajectory in this movie made sense for her character and was very interesting. She starts it off so alone and isolated, like not even talking to people with her real name, right? Her only thing was like a trauma hotline. That's great. Mental health queen. No, right? But at the end, she learns that like she needs to surround herself by people she loves. And she kind of goes back and like confronts her fears, and I thought it was beautiful. I love this character arc. And I guess she also meets, this is a con actually, she meets Kincaid, and I'm pretty sure they get married or whatever, and that was an L for the girls, okay? An L for the girls. She was for the girls. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. I like Kincaid. I mean, I don't like cops, but like Kincaid's, as a character, whatever, he's fine. I mean, he doesn't really do much, I mean, besides in this movie. He kind of just like, oh, we see him. He's there. But it kind of makes sense to me that she, like, married a cop, especially because, like, she will crave safety and comfort in her life because she gets attacked, like, every 3 years, right, at this point. So, whatever. This is a whole other video. I'm focused. Also, I believe her name's Candy, the blonde girl. That chase scene with the props, and he's, like, hiding behind... I love that chase scene. That's a good time. Okay, and at the end with like the big house too, like that was cool, like exploring this like huge like rich producer's house, and he has like all these like secret things or whatever. Really fun, and I just love the set and the Hollywood casting. Oh my gosh, this movie is just so fun. I like how they brought back Randy for the third. It feels like a little out of place, but I enjoy it, and I think Randy would do that. He'd be like, I have to leave my legacy. And I like that we get to see that girl again later. That's fun. And two characters that carried this movie. Detective 2, that I don't even know whose his name is, he has some of the funniest lines in this movie, and I never hear him mentioned. One of my favorite underappreciated Scream characters. He was in a movie called Stabbed. He was stabbed. That line always cracks me up. I don't care. It's so funny. And he has a few other like bangers too. Also, the security guard, Patrick Wall, whatever. I know him from like the Skylanders guy. Iconic. I love him there. And then like the fake Gale Weathers. They have. Oh my god, this movie coming as a comedy because it's just here for the. This is just movies for the girls and the gays. And the days. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop gushing over this movie. And I'll go to the cons. If you don't know, they rewrote this movie like 20 million times, right? And that's why the writing in it is so clumsy. Not an excuse. I'm just saying the story, right? To be fair, I like how they kind of acknowledged it and played a part of the movie. Like, we see the Candy Girls being like, there's another goddamn rewrite. Right? So I think they kind of take its weakness and make it its strength, but I'm sorry. We're talking about the cons. Maybe I just need to make a video essay about how much I love Scream 3. Maybe. This is what this video is showing me. A defense of Scream 3. But no, the writing's clumsy. At the end with Rowan, I should have mentioned spoilers, you know, whatever. With Rowan, he like rewrites history and he's like, yeah, I told Billy and Stu to kill Maureen Prescott. That was like a lame addition. I'm just gonna be frank. I think that he was like a secret brother. It's a little cheesy, whatever, but it's interesting, right? It kind of plays out the tropes. But like him like maneuvering that just kind of takes away from the first movie and doesn't add anything interesting. Rowan's ghost face reveal, which there's supposed to be a few different ones, right? The ones that, from what I remember, I would have loved if it was the Sydney actress, or like at least she was a part of it. I thought that would have been more interesting. I don't mind Rowan being it, and because I think his reasoning is interesting and it meshes well with like Sydney's character arc in this movie, right? But there's like, we'll get to it when we talk about the second movie, but I feel like whatever, we'll get to that. Also, I don't like the voice modifier thing. I mean, it's fine, but I hear a lot of people complain about it, and I get it. It's kind of weird. You know, if you like camp, you'll love this movie. If you don't like camp, you hate this movie, and that's why it's hated, right? But I love camp, and so that's why it's 3 for me. But I understand why people don't like it, right? But I am the target audience, right? This is what the movie was made for me, so I consume it, right? Let's continue on. 4 and 5, my places for 4 and 5 kind of switch back and forth a lot, but I feel, I think it depends on my rewatch. It's Scream 2. Scream 2. I watched Scream 2 twice recently, actually. One time because I was just trying to go through rewatch all the Scream movies because I was dog sitting, and I only got to 3. So I watched that and I was like, oh, it's better than I remember it to be. And then I made my sister watch Scream 2 because I'm trying to get her to watch all the Scream movies. So I think probably, for me, Scream 2 gets better every rewatch. And then number 5, which we'll talk about, with every rewatch, it doesn't get better on rewatch for me. I'm sorry for the lighting and scene change. Ignore the travesty that happened to my Red Velvet poster. Blame my cat. My cat loves ripping up paper. Thanks, Max. But I'm just trying to film this all today so I can ideally have it out before Halloween. Anyway, my number 5, it's still good. I still love that movie, but I just rewatched a lot, like, right when I saw it because I loved it so much, and I think I kind of, like, shot myself in the foot with that, for lack of a better word, right? Anyway, we're talking about my number 4 pick. So Scream 2. It's never been one of my favorites, right? Not to the fact that it's bad, but just for some reason, this vibes did not click with me as much as some of the other ones did. Oh no, my earrings fell out. And I think it's because that this movie, Scream 2, has arguably the best narrative arc. I'm a creative writing major. So it's not that I hate good character writing, which you may disbelieve with my love for Scream 3, but I think they focused more on the story of it than the action, and I love that. I think Scream 2 is a great movie, but I love silly, goofy action, right? So I think because of that, it focused more on the story, which is great, and we love that. But like if I was doing a personal ranking, I will go for the camp before 2, right? But because of Scream 2 has such a good job writing, there's so many great aspects of this movie. We're gonna go over the opening scene and Mickey later, which those 2 aspects are big parts of why this movie, I love it. Those are 2 of my favorite parts about it. But there's also some great scenes in this movie. The car scene, well, first the dude gets like a thing in his eye, crazy, and then they have to kind of like crawl over him out the window. That's a great scene. Oh my god, I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, ah, right? And then Sid acting scene, oh yeah, where she's like doing the play. Just the cinematics of that and like the set dressing and just like how cool it, oh my gosh, she looks so Sid, this movie, this is my favorite Sid era. She just, oh my gosh, her with that short hair, stunning. And then the Gale chase scene with like the soundproof room and all of that, that's a great scene. Lots of great scenes. I was talking to someone at work the other day, and they were saying, yeah, this Scream 2 is definitely my least favorite, and I counteract that. Other great aspects of this movie, Joel, the camera guy, hilarious. I love whenever he's on camera, I'm laughing. Now for the cons. I kind of talked about my major. It's just not as fun, I feel, as some of the other movies, which is fine. I actually like it. I think it's a good contrast and really makes it stand out comparative to the rest of the franchise. But I feel like that reason, a lot of people come to the Scream movies for like, silly slasher fun, right? So it doesn't provide that, so it tends to be less than a lot of people's lists. Cons. I wish they did more with Hallie, the friend. And one of them she was supposed to be Ghostface, and I think that would have been interesting. Not that I do not like what they went with. I do like what they went with, but that would have been fun. Her kind of whole thing is she's trying to get Sid to join the sorority, and I could tell that Hallie really cares about Sid, but I feel like because of that was like her only character motive in the movie, it might kind of make it feel like sometimes like she's just using Sid to get into sorority, which is not true. But I feel like they could have done better with that. The scene where Derek does the scene from Top Gun, it's a little cringe, and that's fine. I don't hate that scene, but it's cringe, and I'm good with a little cringe, right? But it is, and we have to acknowledge that. And then a lot of people have heard criticize like the opening like scene with like the debate, because it's a little too on the nose. Yeah, it didn't ruin the experience for me though. But they were in a film class. Randy's a film major. It made sense to me for his character and like that. Oh, we also got to see my girl from Buffy. That was great. Cece. That sequence was really good too. It's just kind of, there's a lot of parts that I really love about this movie, which I think is why I hit number 4 and not number 5. But I think overall, it's just one of the least like fun and goofy, which is why it's a little bit lower on my list. Now for number 5, it's Scream 5. When I first watched this movie, it was like my number 2 or 3 or something, right? And I still love it. I still love this movie. I think it's great. I'd watch it 10 times over. However, I kind of explained it a bit already, but like I think I kept rewatching this film as neurodivergents do. I just rewatched it a bit too much, so that's why it kind of went lower on my list, which is, once again, this is just it's my opinion, right? This was the introduction of the core 4. I like the core 4. Is Sam Sydney? No, Sam could never be Sydney. I've heard a lot of complaints about her acting in this one. This is also where I stopped writing myself a really good script, so it'll be a lot more so I'm sorry. When I watched it, wasn't like, oh, her acting's off, and that's just me. She definitely is a little bit more, I guess you could say, reserved or something. I don't know. I didn't notice, and I heard people bring it up, and I was like, oh, but it never personally affected me, right? One thing I will say though is that I think Tara, or honestly for me, Mindy, I just love Mindy, and it's because I also love the Yellow Jackets. Well, I watched Yellow Jackets after, but just Mindy's a lesbian, and I'm a lesbian, and it's great. There's some really great parts. My favorite part of this movie is the Wes scene where he just like opening the fridge and stuff. If you didn't watch it, you're probably like, that sounds so boring. No. That scene is so good. The first time I was watching it, it was probably one of the times I was most tense out of all of the Scream movies, right? And I like Wes's characters because it's Judy's, I believe, like the cop we got introduced to in Scream 4, her son, and it makes sense that he always has to have like all the safety supplies, right? She's smart for that. And that whole scene where he was like, I'm gonna, I also really like how they did kind of like a reverse the trope where they had like the man be having the shower scene. I appreciated that. I like how they set up Richie. I'll explain it more when we get to Ghostface and stuff, but I think the whole like, oh, I didn't know, what's that? And be like, oh, when you watch it back later, it makes sense because he was watching all the films, right? We were watching him watch like an interview and stuff. Could make sense for someone finding the series for like the first time and trying to learn more about it. I mean, especially if you're in a deadly situation for it. But it makes more sense that an obsessive fan is gonna watch like a, you know. I think they did that kind of twist really well. But I'm pretty gullible when it comes to movies for some reason. I don't like thinking too much into them when I'm watching them. I like thinking obsessively about them after because I like to be surprised, right? Sometimes I will, but I generally try to just like enjoy the experience, especially with the Ghostfaces one. I mean, I'm like trying to guess it, but I'm not like, you know, I'm trying to just enjoy the movie before I like pick it apart. Also, I love the Tara scene with her in the wheelchair. That was crazy. And also how much they honored killing Dewey, because killing Dewey is such a huge thing in this franchise, and I feel like they did it like, even like Ghostface, I believe it was Amber, right? She was like, it's been an honor, right? They really made it feel monumental. It is monumental, right? He was like an iconic character in the series. Cons I have for this movie, this movie's honestly pretty great. Some people say like when Amber is first revealed and she's and then that one girl like that, that's like a little too much. I mean, it was for shock value. And is it the best? No, but I didn't think it was bad. I just think obviously it was going for shock value rather than like, ooh, you know. I don't know, this movie's great. It honestly is a good time. I'm trying to think of criticisms I have for it, but I don't really have too many. The cast was pretty big because of there's all like the new cast and then like the legacy cast. They're trying to balance that, and I feel like overall did an okay, but it still felt like kind of a crowded movie. Another positive that I want to give it though is I love the Mindy scene, which is like a meta on the Randy scene. Oh no, you know, that was fun. But yeah, it's pretty solid, but it's just not, I just have watched it so much that it's just gone down on my list. But there's so many great parts of this movie. That's why I rewatched it so much, right? I guess you could say another con is that like Richie wasn't super interesting, and also originally in the script Amber and Tara were supposed to have like be exes, and I wish they would have added that because I felt like that would have made that dynamic a lot more interesting and enticing than it was. I feel like they established a pretty good friend circle, but I feel like they could have, the movie was crowded, and because of that it made it feel crowded, right? But no, overall, great movie. Just, it went down on my list a little bit. Last, and but certainly not least, Scream 4. I do not think Scream 4 is a bad movie. It's not, because it isn't, right? However, it's always been my least favorite. And that is just because, I don't know. It's hard to put into words, but it just never hit as good for me as the other ones did. That Jill reveal at the end, iconic. Best part of that movie by far, right? So that, well, I will always appreciate this movie for. And I'm talking about like, I wish this movie didn't exist. It ruins the franchise. It doesn't. I still think it's a good time. It's just not, for me, as good as the rest of the series. But that Jill Roberts reveal, I like Kirby, obviously. We're happy to see her back in Scream 5 as well. It's established as a good character there. The whole scene when Gail is like trying to set up the cameras at like the movie screening, that's enjoyable. As a gay person, I thought, you can't kill me, I'm gay. That was funny to me, like very funny to me when I first watched it. But cons, it's just I like the Sydney book deal thing. That's interesting to me, and with like the receptionist being like, oh, play into the victim role, and she's like, no, I'm a survivor, because she's right, the book deal woman, I don't know what to call her. Her death was good. That was a good death. On the slamming on the news van. Right. It's just the least memorable to me besides like the Jill reveal at the end. But there's still good parts of it. They killed off a character that I feel like could have made this movie so much better. Like in like the first, she was like the first kill, right? The girl that was like, yeah, I don't want to be around Sid. She's like an angel of death. That girl. I feel like if they kept her around longer, that could have been a really interesting dynamic playing against her whole like I'm a survivor thing, and that would have been really fun. But and Jill being Sid's aunt, I feel like they didn't. It was aunt, right? Aunt, cousin. They didn't play on that enough. I was given an opportunity for a story, and I feel like I wasn't served it. I think they focused more on the book, which makes sense. But I think the book took over the cousin dynamic, and then like Maureen's sister, like she was barely in it. I feel like they really underutilized the story elements. They literally gave themselves in this movie, and so I just didn't feel as good. But once again, that Jill reveal, we'll talk about more in the ghost face. Iconic. She ate that, and I support her. I don't support her, obviously, but like I support her. Also Judy and her lemon squares is a very funny bit to me. I like how, I don't really like what they did with Gail's character in this movie. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like it makes sense, but I feel like they kind of, I don't want to say like, they just made her kind of like the jealous wife, you know? And I don't like that direction for her character. Not necessarily the jealous wife, but oh, she used to be a reporter and now she's trying to make a life. I like that aspect of it, but she's just like, you know, Gail is an incredible girl boss, right? And I feel like they were trying to set her up with being like, yeah, she was, not is. You know, I feel like they really took away Gail's power in this movie, and I didn't like that as much. And then Dewey was being like, I like Dewey, I promise. But yeah, I just feel like they had a weird dynamic in that movie, and I didn't like it as much, and it kind of ruined like it, and But no, it's just my least favorite. Is it bad? No. That's not my favorite. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Movie section over. Now we're going to go into opening scenes. Opening scenes, I feel like, are like a own little sliver of each of these movies. This is why I wanted to rate them and talk about them separately. I mean, like, these opening scenes are iconic and so much fun. And I feel like even if I really liked a movie's opening scene, doesn't mean I really liked the movie, and vice versa, right? So, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Scream 1, still the best, right? I'm sorry, that movie's just too good. And with cultural context, like they had Drew Barrymore in, and they like made her all of the posters and everything, and then just to kill her off in the opening scene. That's an iconic twist that is hard to beat because like she's the OG, you know? And then like the Steve, and it was also like the most brutal, which doesn't make it better, but just like, oh, sick, and she's like, the mom's like calling her on the phone, and it's like, oh god, this is so tragic, and then she's like hung up, and oh my god, right? Like, ooh. It's just good, and just like, it's set the legacy. How can I say it's not the best one? It's sickening. And then the popcorn, iconic. It's just iconic. What do you want me to do? It's iconic. Okay. 2, Scream 2. This is, besides like the first one, is one of my favorite opening scenes. The scene with Jada Pinkett in front of like the whole movie theater going, wah! That scene's so crazy good. I love that scene where it's just like a very interesting meta commentary. Like everyone probably thought she was joking or whatever. Like, oh no, like no one here takes death seriously because they're just here to laugh at a bunch of people get murdered, right? And a death is happening right in front of them and they don't care. They'd rather just be like, get into the movie, right? And I was just like, oh, I come to Scream for like construct of like the slashers, and it just provided that for me. And the scene where like the dude in it, I'm sorry, I don't know his name, like it's like in the ear, oh, and he leans in because he's like whispering like, mommy, I was like, what? And he whispers and get, oh my god, my earring fell out again. It's just iconic. And Jada Pinkett, stunning. Queen. That scene's just so good. Con. I'm supposed to think of bad things about it. Crickets. I'm sorry, I can't. Moving on. Opening number 3, Scream 6. This opening scene is crazy, but it can only be crazy because it reverses your expectation that the previous 5 movies set. And I want to acknowledge that beforehand. This opening scene wouldn't be as fantastic if it wasn't contrasting what everything we've seen before, right? Also has Samara Weaving in it, and I love her. My favorite horror movie, I prefer horror comedies. One of my favorite movies is Ready or Not. If she's in it, I love it. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about that. It just doesn't end when you think it's supposed to end, and he just keeps going, and we like get the ghost face reveal, and you're like, what? And it just continues going, and then he goes home and he gets the call, and it's like, what? And then he opens the fridge to see his like partner in crime. Oh my gosh. And he's like, oh, do you feel like an animal now? Yeah. Just like totally belittling him because he was like a crazy killer, which is crazy, awesome, cool, because we idolize serial killers for some reason, but it's weird because he's also a serial. It's interesting. Okay, I love this opening scene. And also plays off the current day fears of like, oh, if you're gonna meet someone on Tinder, they're gonna you know. I think a good horror movie like plays off the fears of the modern day, right? And it does that. And it's just con. I'm trying to think of a con. They kind of acknowledge it, but it's like they don't acknowledge it in the movie because you're like, wow, you're a, because she's supposed to be like she teaches about slasher movies, and then she walks into like the dark alleyway, and they acknowledge it, and they're like, wow, really, what a rah. You know, but I feel like that also makes sense too. Like when you think about it, like she's on a date and she's trying to find like her date, and so she's not like being like, because you as a person should not have to be consciously aware of your surrounding 24/7 and should be able to just enjoy yourself, right? And I feel like that's acknowledging it as part of the problem. Like we put too much of the blame on the victim and not like the serial killer for killing her, right? Like you the character in this movie should be been smarter, or you wouldn't have gotten killed. Whoa, right? Iconic. Let's continue. Scream 5. What I like so much about this opening scene is it kind of sets the tone really well for the rest of the movie, about how we're different. Not even just that, but I like how it has a lot more consequence in the movie because of Tara getting so busted up in the opening scene that for the rest of the movie she's like in the hospital or in a wheelchair. A lot of people have said like it's too on the nose with like the Babadook or that references, and yeah, I can see that. I can't argue against it, but I feel like it was like the movie's way of trying to be like, oh, all horror movies now have to be, and because we love that, we do. Why can't we just have a good slasher anymore, right? And I was trying to do that, but we could have handled it better. But Jenna Ortega is a great actor. Do I love her as a person? No. That girl can act, right? Like, so it was a good scene, you know, not my favorite, but it was good. Yeah, I really honestly don't remember much about it. And it's been, as I haven't watched Scream 5 in a minute, means that it should be lower on the list, right? Anyway. Scream 3 for my number 5. This is just one of the weaker opening scenes. But the reason it's ahead of the next one is because there are some parts that I want to acknowledge that I like about it. I like how it plays off Mickey's manipulation of the last movie, like the ghost face trying to manipulate the girlfriend, right? And I thought that like similar to like what happened in Scream 2, trying to like in a way like recreate that dynamic. I think that was like a fun way to kind of like reference the last movie. And it's tragic, like she thought like her boyfriend was like trying to kill her, and that way it's like, oh, it's tragic. And he's like, no, I'm not trying to kill you. And it's like, you're crazy, because he had like the voice modifier, right? So I really like that like emotional manipulation behind it. I feel like that was really well written, and why you can be like, yeah, it's just like a cheap knockoff of like the ending of Scream 2, fair enough. But I personally thought that was really interesting. And also like him at the start being like, oh, I don't have a girlfriend, like referencing Drew Barrymore in the first movie. I just like that. It's fun little references that I enjoy. But yeah, besides that, it's just kind of the weaker one. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like I love Scream 3, but this is when you could see like girl had rewrites, right? And also Cotton, they could have done, it's kind of like Randy in the sense where they could have done more with his character, I feel, but they just killed him off, right? Killing off the excess weight to give like a, oh my gosh, we could kill off the legacy characters in any moment, right? I feel like they were trying to be like, because ending Scream 2, Cotton Weary had like, Sydney gave him like, hey, like gave him like the pat on the back that he's looking for, right? And now he has a show or whatever, and I feel like we could have explored that a lot more. I feel like this is a scenario we see a lot of the Scream movies where writers like give themselves an interesting plot to the story and they say no thank you. So yeah, that's why it's one of the weaker ones, but I don't think it's like boring or like bad. I just don't think, compared to the other ones, which are so strong, these last three are the ones that are just weaker to me. Scream 4. I'm not trying to hate on Scream 4. I promise. The movie is at its strongest at the end of the movie. And we're going to talk about the end of the movie next. So do not worry. I'm not just hating on Scream 4. The first time you see this opening scene, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, right? But unlike the rest of them, I feel, it like the bit gets old after two watches, you know what I mean? I think it's just, as a good Scream movie does, it's just a product of its time, a lot of the horror movies at that time were like criticized for just being more about like genuine like good build-up scares, and so I just think in that way it's a product of its time, just trying to value shock factor rather than like actual interesting storytelling. But I think it's fun. It's just one of the weaker ones. Like, it just kind of gets old, and you go through like the same like bit 3 times, and I don't even remember if the last, like I like that you see the girl from The Good Place. That's fun. It's like so, I don't want to say messy, but so complicated that I can't even remember who like specifically died, like who was real and who was fake, unlike basically every single other one. So it's just the messiest one, and like I don't mean that in like a necessarily like a mean way. It just is. But it makes sense for the movie, so it's not bad, but it's just like, if I'm gonna personally rate it, it's just gonna go on the bottom, right? Okay. I didn't mean to jump through opening scenes so much, but they're only short bits, so not as much to say, I guess, rather than talking about a whole movie in a short little way. So now we're gonna go on to Ghostface. Maybe I should go backwards for this one. Spice it up a little bit so you can try to guess. So right now, who's your Ghostface? Who's your favorite Ghostface? Or at least top 3. So number 11, Charlie. Do you know who Charlie is? I didn't. I forgot his name. I forgot he existed. And once again, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be mean to Scream 4, but in my opinion, Charlie is just like the least interesting Ghostface. I like that. I don't like it, actually. He was mad at Kirby for not liking him, but then liking him later, and he just gross man behavior. Boo. Yeah. Anyway, number 10, Ethan. From Scream 6. Spoilers, there's 3 ghost faces. And because there's so many of them, I feel like I like action sequence and the reveal of the ghost faces more than the ghost faces, and I feel like the actual ghost faces suffered because of it. Ethan, I think he does a really good shy boy act. I was an econ, right? I couldn't have been me. And I think the scene with him on the train with Mindy was good, but it also like didn't make sense. Like, if you were trying to why would you and it kind of brings up like the mess of that movie, right? But I didn't not like him. I just don't have strong feelings towards him, right? Just another one, thank you. And he has this like gross line where he's like, I wanted to always put it in you, Tara, or whatever. And I'm like, ugh. But then like she got like a good bonk on him, right? So just, yeah, no thanks. Next is Quinn. I like Quinn more than Ethan because I feel like she had more of a character than Ethan, right? She's like the roommate who has guys over all the time. Great character writing, right? No, but Quinn just has a little bit more of a personality and like a role in the story than Ethan. Same kind of criticism because there's 3 ghost faces. I feel like one of them got more screen time than the rest. right? And that's the one that's not mentioned yet. But I liked Quinn. I liked her character in the movie, right? And I didn't expect her to be Ghostface. Well, because she died, right? And that was kind of cheap, I guess. I don't know. I mean, they did it in Scream 3, which was that was dumb. We'll talk about it. Next is Roman, right? 9, Roman. He died and Gail checked pulse and he was still breathing and as actually Ghostface. Come on, really? Really? We can subvert expectations in a better way. Yeah, I think the long lost brother thing, I kind of mentioned it earlier, is cheesy, but it's not. I'm fine with it, right? And I think Roman, his whole thing, like, oh, I'm trying to make this horror movie so I can go on and make more movies, right? He's just kind of same thing as the rest of these bottom ones. Like, he's just not as interesting as the rest of them, you know? I think he's more interesting than the 3 below him. This might just be because I have a positive relationship with Scream 3, but I just like the whole like movie set deal, and I feel like that raises up him on my list a little bit more, because yeah, these are just kind of right. We're not at the interesting ones yet. Number 7, Richie. I like the Richie reveal because I feel like it's a good play off Billy Loomis, right? We're resetting the franchise, right? Richie is the new boyfriend, right? And I really like how Richie's setup for the ghost faces of Scream 6 more than I feel like I liked Richie. Does that make sense? I liked that playing off Scream 2, the whole family comes plot, right? And we get to see Richie's films in Scream 6, which I liked. But because of the fact that he was trying to hide himself the whole movie, we didn't get to see him much besides just like the nice boyfriend, right? Who was trying to do the right thing, and he does it good, but I don't think he does it good as some of his reveal isn't as interesting as some of the other ones. He like, and it's like his death, you know. I don't think I mentioned it much. I really like Sam, specifically in Scream 6. Bah, bah. Literally every time I see his death scene in Scream 5, it's like bah, 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 bah. Alongside with her. Oh gosh, if it was earned, girl. Sam's. And like the whole thing's like he was on the Reddit boards and I like that. It makes sense, you know, you're playing off the modern day tropes and I like that. It's not as interesting as some of the other people on this list. There's a lot of the things. And then we go to number 6, which is Billy Loomis's mom, Debbie Salt. I don't remember her actual name. Nancy Loomis. I just think of her as Debbie Salt because that's who she plays as the whole movie. I remember her like her eyes go super wide. She goes, like the actresses. I kind of like the bit of her like being a reporter and telling Gail. That was funny, even before I found out she was Ghostface. And I liked because the whole. I like how Scream 2 plays off Scream 1. Obviously, right? Same thing. And I like how she girl bossed Mickey into doing all the dirty work. Right? I like her plan. And then she does like the whole thing like everyone always blames the mothers, right? It's giving Mrs. Voorhees Friday the 13th one. And it's supposed to, I'm sure. But because of that, we're staying in spot number 6. 5, Amber. The reason she's so high up is just I have this one clip of her in my head all the time when she's like doing the reveal and she's like crazy and she goes like freaking her out. Like, oh, I think it's so funny. And I do this all the time and I have to explain it every single time because no one gets it because no one obsesses with that scene as much as I do. So I'm bringing it up here. That scene is always so funny to me. That's why she's so high up. No, she's playing off Sue. She's the crazy one, right? Ooh, and she's like the actual lover of Richie. That age differences feels weird, right? Ew, Richie, we hate him. He's a creep. He's a redditor, right? She's interesting and she's entertaining, which is why she's so high up. But she's not like the best. And watching the guy who does like who kills who, right, for the Ghostface videos. I like those. She basically did all the kills. She's a girl boss, right? I feel like I would have liked her character better once again if they had her and Jenna Ortega be in a relationship. But yeah, she's Philly, and the actress does a great job. She's very entertaining, and that's why she's so high up there. Funny enough, same with another character, right? 4. Girlies aren't gonna like this. Billy Loomis. He is the icon. Ew, I don't like using that for a killer. He is the standard, right? So that's why he's up here. But if you're thinking about it, right, he's just not as entertaining as some of the other people on this list. And he's just like he just manipulates, he's just a male manipulator, right? But no, my friends simp over him. And maybe it's just because I'm a girl's girl that I just don't get it as much. But no, the actor is great. Like, he's great. That's why he's in the top 4. He's the 4th. But I just like some of the performances better. But he does a great performance, obviously. But I just think other ones are more entertaining. And so hence why he's 4. But no, he's obviously the gold standard. He is Billy Loomis. Like, Billy Loomis. You get on every single character after that is affected by him, right? He's just not as silly. Right? Number 3, Jill Roberts. I'm sorry, her Ghostface reveal was great. It's just great. And is like the saving, if that wasn't in Scream 4, Scream 4 wouldn't, I would not like it. Scream 4, I don't feel. I will, at least not as much as I do. No, she's just such a girl boss, and she's like, oh, no. That's like, I feel like a really good playoff of kind of Mickey. And Mickey, he wants to do the trial because that's what everyone's entertained by these days. But Jill's like modern day version is, I want to be an influencer, right? Which is a bit cringe, but obviously it's supposed to be, right? Like, this is being a serial killer for Instagram followers, like, ugh. But she really, she plays the white woman up. She goes, you know, she does the white woman tears, and she's expecting it, right? It's just iconic. I'm sorry. That scene where she's just going around like breaking everything is so funny, and how she shoots her like cheater ex and the iconic. She slayed, literally. And also, like, the fact that she's Sydney's niece or cousin or whatever. I like that, because it adds, like, extra, like, oh, shit, it's closer to home, kind of, again, playing off Billy Loomis. Like, oh, like, this is someone that I actually really, really care about, and they're, like, trying to murder me, right? So that's fun. Scream 4 could have been better. It's just hard, because, like, most of her character the whole time is just kind of, like, whatever. But then, like, you're like, oh. So it makes sense, you know? But I really feel like they could have made Jill better. But I really like what they did do with her. Okay. 2. Oh, Mickey, you're so fun. You're so fun. Hi, Mickey. No, Mickey. I really like Mickey because I really, really think it's fascinating. One of my favorite parts of Scream 2 is how Mickey the whole time is trying to be like, oh, it's your boyfriend again, isn't it? Oh, and that has Sid freaking out, right? I just think it's fascinating. And I really like how he plays off that, like, internal fear she has, making her, I feel like, one of the most effective ghost faces in that way. Like, just playing off not just the fear of, oh gosh, I'm gonna die, but oh no, is like my lover betraying me again, right? Oh, so good. So good. It's good. They ate that. And his, like, thing of, I want to do the trial, and I'm going to blame the movies. And he's just so crazy. And I just, you can probably tell who my number 1 is, right? He's just insane. And that's entertaining. His, like, whole reveal at the end. I like how he's, like, filming the movie, and then it makes sense later because they watch the footage. He's, like, a fellow film student. I wish they would have done with Mickey like, Ghostface reveal. But they're probably just trying not to make him conspicuous, right? but I feel like they really underlies like the normal side of him. But still, like the whole like that whole scene where like Derek's like tied up and he's like, oh, you right, partner? And he's like, no, I'm gonna die. And he's like, oh, partner. It's like, you really gotta work on your trust issues, Sid. Oh, that's so good. One of my favorite, great moment. Number 1, Stu. Thanks, Matthew Lillard. End of video. No, it's just Matthew Lillard's performance is what makes Stu, and part of the reason which makes Scream 1 so entertaining. Just, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me. He just has like it's like tongue, and he's just so wild and just fascinating to watch. And how he like basically like hints at the start that he is Ghostface. He's like, oh, and then Billy's like, dude. He's like, no, he's just so goofy. He's like, I'm feeling a little woozy here, man. It's literally all Matthew Lillard. Thank you, Matthew Lillard. You served me well. I'm excited to watch you in FNAF movie, right? And I have to, it's literally just actors' performances. Same with Mickey, Amber, right? They carried. Also, I like the fact that Stu and Billy were, you know, on the side. I wish they would have played more into that, but I'm also glad they didn't, because especially in like 1996, gay people being evil was like, that's not nice. But you know what? They're that tension is real, and if you don't feel it, I don't know what to tell you. No, but Stu's my favorite Ghostface just because he's so deformist, and I like even when he's Ghostface, he's just so like a rag doll. It's just to me that's just more interesting to watch than like a more male manipulator like Billy. And I feel like I'm a Stu gal, not a Billy gal. I feel like that just kind of really shows like he's more like, but Stu's more like, and I prefer that guy, right? But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all. Thanks for being here. I hope you have a fantastic Halloween. And please be respectful and nice, and use the link below to call your representatives.